All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Tuesday, April 7th. We're continuing with our Drop Everything and Read. Yesterday, in our reading of The Hate U Give, as we know, Star is meeting with Justice for Just Us. That's Miss Oprah, as we know. I always want to say Oprah when I say that, when I see that name. But one of the interesting connections as Star is starting to speak up, the location of the office. Can anyone remember where that was? I talked about it being one of my favorite fast food places. That's right, Taco Bell. So one of the significant connections with Taco Bell had something to do with Maverick. Can anyone remember that? That's right. Um, Although it's not the most, fancy of restaurants or anything like that, it does hold sentimental value for Star because it represents Maverick's efforts to reform himself and take care of his family when he first got out of prison. Remember that this also suggests that the struggles people face when they first come out of prison too. So when you think getting back on your feet and the 99-cent tacos, there's that whole scene. Something else I just want to highlight again, the office where they are speaking, although there are no people, they do mention a number of the posters. Huey Newton, that's right, he's linked to the Black Panthers, good job, and Malcolm X, another civil rights activist. They're both famous activists in the Black Panther Party who fought for Black liberation and an end to police brutality. And that's ultimately what Star's voice can ultimately help them achieve. So Star's surprise upon hearing Miss Oprah use the word murder reflects how desensitized she is and how desensitized society is in general about the killing of people, especially the killing of Black people. So we're going to find out more about what Star reveals and will her identity remain anonymous. The other piece, just to remind you of, remember that Devonte has relocated. If you recall in yesterday's reading, unfortunately, Mr. Lewis was attacked. Despite Devonte being there to protect him, Mr. Lewis had Devonte hide, and we learn that Devonte has stolen some money from the Garden Disciples, and ultimately from King's side of the gang, they want redemption of sorts. So they are out to get Devonte, and Devonte is not necessarily hiding, but taking refuge. So finding support and security with Uncle Carlos. So we'll find out more about that today as well. Okay, timer set. Here we go. Uncle Carlos gives Devonte a tour. His room is about as big as me and Seven's rooms put together. It doesn't seem right that he only has a little backpack to put in it. And when we go to the kitchen, Uncle Carlos makes him hand that over. There are a few rules for living here, Uncle Carlos says. 1, follow the rules. 2, he pulls the Glock from Devonte's backpack. No weapons and no drugs. I know you ain't bring that in my house, Devonte, Daddy says. King probably got money on my head. You damn right I got a piece. Rule 3, Uncle Carlos speaks over him. No cursing. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. They don't need to hear that because they hear it from Nana enough. Ava's new favorite word is God damn it. Rule 4, Uncle Carlos says, go to school. So simple enough. Man, Devonte groans. I already told Big Mav I can't go back to Garden High. We know, Daddy says. Once we get in touch with your mama, we'll get you enrolled in an online program. Maybe there'll be something like what we offer here at Way. Lisa's mama is a retired teacher. So is my dad, by the way. Not only am I a teacher, my dad was a teacher, and believe it or not, his grandmother was a teacher. I have some uncles who were teachers, so Miss Siobhan has a lot of teachers in her family. So Lisa's mama is a retired teacher as well. She can tutor you through so you can finish the year out. Like hell I can, Nana says. I don't know where she is, but I'm not surprised she's listening. Mama, stop being nosy, Uncle Carlos says. Stop volunteering me for stuff. Stop cursing, he says. Well, instead of stuff, she said this word. So he says, stop cursing, he says. Tell me what to do again and see what happens. Uncle Carlos's face and neck go bright red. The doorbell rings. Carlos, get the door, Nana says, from wherever she's hiding. He purses his lips and leaves to answer. As he comes back, I can hear him talking to somebody. Then somebody laughs, and I know that laugh because it makes me laugh. Look who I found, Uncle Carlos says. Chris is behind him in his white Williamson polo and khaki shorts. And who's Chris again? That's right, Star's boyfriend. And we know that there's some mixed feelings that they are in a mixed relationship, as Chris is Caucasian. He has on the red and black Jordan 12s that MJ wore when he had the flu. So that Michael Jordan wore when he had the flu during the 97 finals. 97 is the year Miss Siobhan graduated high school. Shoot, that makes Chris finer for some reason. Or I have a Jordan fetish. So again, it's all about the shoes. Hi, he smiles without showing teeth. Hi, I smile too. I forget that Daddy is here and that I potentially have a big problem on my hands. That only lasts about 10 seconds though, because Daddy asks, "Who you?" Chris extends his hand to Daddy. "Christopher, sir. Nice to meet you." Daddy gives him a twice over. "You know my daughter or something?" "Yeah." Chris stretches it kind of long and looks at me. "We both go to Williamson." I nod. Good answer. Daddy folds his arms. "Well, do you or don't you? You sound a little unsure about that." Mama gives Chris a quick hug. All the while, Daddy mean mugs the hell out of him, so gives him that stank eye. "How are you doing, sweetie?" she asks. "I'm fine. I didn't mean to interrupt anything. I saw your car and Star wasn't at school today, so I wanted to check on her." "It's fine," says Mama. "Tell your mom and dad I said hello. How are they?" "Hold up," Daddy says. "Y'all act like this dude been around a minute." Daddy turns to me. "Why ain't I never heard about him?" It's going to take a hell of a lot of boldness to put myself out there for Khalil. Like, I once told my militant black daddy about my white boyfriend kind of boldness. If I can't stand up to my dad about Chris, how can I stand up for Khalil? So again, our theme of finding your voice. Daddy always tells me to never bite my tongue for anyone. That includes him. So I say it. He's my boyfriend. "Boyfriend?" Daddy repeats. "Yeah, her boyfriend," Nana pipes up again from wherever she is. "Hey, Chris, baby." Chris glances around, all confused. Hey, Miss Montgomery." Nana was the first to find out about Chris, thanks to her master snooping skills. She told me, "Go ahead, get your swirl on, baby." Swirl meaning mixed relationship. If you think of swirl ice cream, vanilla and chocolate, so we're mixing Caucasian and African American or other colored identities together. Then proceed to tell me about all their swirling adventures, which I didn't need to know. "What the hell," Star Daddy says. "You dating a white boy?" "Maverick," Mama snaps. "Calm down, Maverick," Uncle Carlos says. "He's a good kid, and he treats her well. That's all that matters, isn't it?" "You knew?" Daddy says. He looks at me, and I don't know if that's anger or hurt in his eyes. He knew, and I didn't? This happens when you have two dads. One of them's bound to get hurt, and you're bound to feel like crap because of it. Excuse me, a little tickle. "Let's go outside," Mama says tightly. "Now." Daddy glares at Chris and follows Mama to the patio. The doors have thick glass, but I still hear her go off on him. "Come on, Devonte," Uncle Carlos says. "Going to show you the basement and the laundry room." Devonte sizes Chris up. "Boyfriend," he says with a slight laugh and looks at me. "I should have known you'd have a white boy." He leaves with Uncle Carlos. What the hell is that supposed to mean? "Sorry," I tell Chris. "My dad shouldn't have gone off like that. It could have been worse. He could have killed me." "True." I motion him to sit at the counter while I get us some drinks. "Who is that guy with your uncle?" he asks. "Aunt Pam ain't got one soda up in here. Juice, water, and sparkling water. I bet Nana has a stash of Sprite and Coke in her room, though." "Devonte," I say, grabbing 2 apple juice boxes. "He got caught up in some King Lord stuff, and Daddy brought him to live with Uncle Carlos." Why was he looking at me like that? "Get over it, Maverick. He's white," Mama shouts in the patio. "White, white, white." Chris blushes and blushes and blushes and blushes. I hand him a juice box. "That's why Devonte was looking at you that way. You're white." "Okay," he asks more than says. "Is this one of those black things I won't understand?" "Okay, babe, real talk. If you were somebody else, I'd side-eye the crap out of you for calling it that." "Calling it what?" "A black thing." "Yeah? But isn't that what it is?" "Not really," I say. "It's not like this kind of stuff is exclusive to black people, you know. The reasoning may be different, but that's about it. Your parents don't have a problem. Your parents don't have a problem with us dating?" "I wouldn't call it a problem," Chris says, "but we did talk about it." "So it's not just a black thing then, huh?" "Point made. We sit at the counter, and I listen to his play-by-play of school today. Nobody walked out because the police were there waiting for any drama. Haley and Maya asked about you, he says. I told them you were sick. They could have texted me and asked themselves. I think they feel guilty about yesterday, especially Haley. White guilt, he winks. I crack up. My white boyfriend talking about white guilt. Mama yells, and I love how you insist on getting... Okay, we're back to the Maverick and Lisa situation. Mama yells, and I love how you insist on getting somebody else's child out of Garden Heights, but you want ours to stay in that hellhole. Similar to the argument I suggested yesterday. Again, Maverick made sure that Devontae was safe, and now Lisa is starting to challenge Maverick. Why aren't you taking care of your own immediate family? You want them in the suburbs with all this fake shit, Daddy says? If this is fake, baby, I'll take it over real any day. I'm sick of this. The kids go to school out here. I take them to church out here. Their friends are out here. We can afford to move. But you want to stay in that mess? Because at least in Garden Heights, people ain't going to treat them like crap. They already do. And wait until King can't find Devontae. Who do you think he's going to look at? Us. I told you I'll handle that, Daddy says. We ain't moving. It ain't even up for discussion. Oh, really? Really. Chris gives me a bit of a smile. This is awkward. My cheeks are hot, and I'm glad I'm too brown for it to show. Yeah, awkward. He takes my hand and taps his fingertips against my fingertips, one at a time. He laces his fingers through mine. We let our arms swing together in the space between us. Daddy comes in and slams the door behind him. He zeroes straight in on our joined hands. Chris doesn't let go. Point for my boyfriend. So again, he's not threatened. He's trying to show Star that he's here for her no matter what. We'll talk later, Star. Daddy marches out. If there were a rom-com, so romantic comedy. So if this were a rom-com, Chris says, you'd be Zoe Saldana and I'd be Ashton Kutcher. Huh? He sips his juice. This old movie. Guess who? I caught it when I had the flu a few weeks ago. Zoe Saldana dated Ashton Kutcher. Her dad didn't like that. She was seeing a white guy. That's us. Except, this isn't funny, I say. It can be. Nah. What's funny, though, is that you watched a rom-com. Hey, he cries. It was hilarious. More of a comedy than a rom-com. Bernie Mac was her dad. That guy was hilarious. One of the kings of comedy. I don't think it can be called a rom-com simply because he was in it. Okay, you get points for knowing Bernie Mac and that he was king of comedy. Everyone should know that. True, but you don't get a pass. It was still a rom-com. I won't tell anyone, though. I lean over to kiss his cheek, but he moves his head, giving me no choice but to kiss him on the mouth. Soon we're making out, right there in my uncle's kitchen. Somebody clears their throat. Chris and I separate fast. I thought embarrassment was having my boyfriend hear my parents argue. Nope. Embarrassment is having my mom walk in on me and Chris making out. Again. Don't y'all think you should let each other breathe, she says. Chris blushes down to his Adam's apple. I should go. He leaves with a quick goodbye to Mama. She raises her eyebrows at me. Are you taking your birth control pills? Mommy. Answer my question. Are you? Yes, I groan, putting my face on the countertop. When was your last cycle? Oh, my Lord. I lift my head and flash the fakest of smiles. We're fine. Promise. Y'all got some nerve. Your daddy was barely out the driveway and y'all slobbering all over each other. You know how Maverick is. We'll pause there for now. I'll set us up for round number 2 as our timer comes to an end. But you might want to think about a time that you were caught in a compromising position. Maybe you had a friend sleep over when they weren't supposed to, or you told someone you had to go to school, or you couldn't go to school because you weren't feeling well to get out of a test, or something like that. These little white lies that they're talking about. And no, that's got nothing to do with skin color. A little white lie is a colloquial term. That means a common term used to describe a small lie. So we'll pause there, and I'll get ready for link number 2. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back momentarily.